So what I've got here today is a set of terrain that we've bought as part of the East Anglia Hobbit community, and this has come from Whitefoot 3D printing, and it's a set of terrain which is actually designed by, I believe it's RM Terrain, and it's part of their Stormguard range. I think RM Terrain, they sell the STL files, and they also, I think, license independent 3D printing companies to print and sell their terrain if they like to. So we got this bundle, ordered it a couple of weeks ago, before the lockdown. I think the guy who runs Whitefoot 3D printing is no longer going to be selling this anymore. I don't know if it's a year-long license agreement or something that's run out, but this was one of the last runs that he's done of it. The files are still available on the RM Terrain website, so you can buy the STL if you want to print them. And this is, I believe it was the 4x4 table bundle, so we've got a selection of different types of pieces. They're all quite they look a lot like Osgiliath ruins, perhaps something for Gondor. I think what we're going to try to do is, we've got a lot of different types of tables at the hut now. I'm going to try to do a snow theme, so something that looks a bit more like Arnor. I'll show you some of the bits and pieces and go through it a bit, but what we've essentially got is, over on this far left hand side, we've got a set of statues. We've got some, I think these are called, I can't remember what they call them, if they're called the outcrops or something like that, but it basically looks like a low defensive wall with steps coming up either side. We've got a set of corners, so these are just sort of like corner ruin pieces. There's, over here, another corner piece. I don't know if they go together, if that goes on top of there. I'm not really too sure. I'm going to have to see how they go together. Maybe that. Yeah, I think that goes like that. And that goes on there. So you can see they're quite sizable pieces. They're not small pieces of terrain. Let's see that a bit better. I'll come down and bring it down closer to the camera in a minute and sort of show you. Then there's some other wall sections, and there's sort of like quite a large, quite nice archways building. I think this was close to about, I think it was £90, something along those lines, for the whole set. So this will do an entire board. I just need to get some bits and pieces to base it on. So I'll show you each piece bit by bit, and then let you know what I think about it. So up first are some of these statues. We've got 4 that come with plinths. Let's see if I can adjust the lighting slightly for you. There we go, slightly better lighting. They all come on plinths, as you can see. They are very, I'll be honest, they're very, very light. There's not much weight to them at all. But you can see, and this is common, I think, for a lot of 3D, well, all 3D printed stuff that I've seen, and for this entire set. If you listen, you can see the ridges. I know that is how 3D printed terrain's made, but I'm not really too sure how I feel about it yet. I'll have a look at the other stuff a bit more. The detail's not quite as strong. If you remember sort of like the battle games in Middle-earth, or I think it came with some of that. There's a Ruins of Middle-earth set, and they did a statue in there. Of course, that was plastic moulded, so you can get a lot more detail. But you've kind of lost some of the detail. I mean, it's still great. I mean, there's different poses. So this looks like some sort of, looks like a bishop or something like that kind of figure. You've got a king, or something like that. You've got, again, some sort of warrior. He's got a sword and a shield, and you've got a variety, and you've got plinths as well. And I think this set to buy itself is actually relatively cheap. So for what you're getting, actually, you're not doing too badly. So that's the first part of the kit that we've got. Next up is this. Now, I think I'm going to need to go on their website and see how this goes together. Certain corner pieces, there's pieces which look like they go on top. So There's another one there. Maybe. No, looks like it goes on that. I suppose what's quite good is actually you can tell these bits aren't finished. Well, I say they are finished. They're very flat along the top. So actually, they must glue on, because if you look at the ones where there's nothing meant to glue on it, it's not a flat finish. I think this is just a set of ruined archways, bits and pieces like that. Quite nice. You would not get a 25mm base through here if you were playing Lord of the Rings. So you couldn't, well, depending on who you're playing against, whether you're playing in a friendly or competitive environment, you may or may not be allowed to move models through there. I'd certainly say you couldn't be able to get a cavalry model through there. You're definitely not getting a 25mm base through there. But the scale is pretty good. Just pulled out a model here for scale for you. You can see it scales up quite nicely. It's not too small, not too large. You wouldn't get a 25mm base through there, but you can see that he would fit through, so depending how you play it. Nice bit of kit. Next there's some more corner units. I believe these are just freestanding on their own. Again, for scale. Scale's done very well, actually. I quite like how these compare to the Osgiliath ruins, because the Osgiliath ruins don't have thick walls. So when you're looking at an Osgiliath ruin, it's a very thin wall, so it doesn't look like it's the thickness of a brick. So it's quite nice to see these are actually the right dimensions in both ways. That's the next set. Moving on to some of the larger stuff now. Next we got two of these. I believe the name for these is the outposts or something along those lines, like I mentioned earlier. You've got rocky areas, defensive wall. Quite good playable terrain as well, actually. You can see there models can fit all the way along here, fit up and down the stairs. They don't fall too much, to be honest. It's quite nice. Again, up here you can fit models up. Very nice, actually. Again, you can see with the 3D printing the lines. I won't let that bug me too much, because I know that is exactly how 3D printing works. But then you can see almost on the texture on the top here, it's the same. Very interested to see where 3D printing goes in the next sort of like 10-15 years. If it can do this now, what will it be able to do in 10 years time, or even potentially on a more expensive printer? I don't know how good the printer is that this guy uses, but the detail on there is pretty good. What would an industrial one be able to do? Very nice though. Should also say as well, all these pieces are completely solid on the bottom, so imagine there's some sort of honeycomb in there to make them lighter, but you could, there's no need to base these if you didn't want to. You'd just be able to paint them straight up and play with them, which is very good. I may base them. That's my preference, to have a slightly larger base around the edge to add a little bit more sort of like feel to it, theme, especially if I'm going to do snow and stuff like that. But it's nice to see a solid bottom to it. Coming now to the last two pieces. These are the largest pieces we've got. So I have to come back a bit more. This again, one solid printed piece, so I don't know how long this would have taken to print. And then on top you've got a couple of floors that go up. The angle on these is a bit steeper than the other stuff, and so I don't know if you'd be able to have metal models going up the stairs. You also can't get a base through this end, so unless you're playing a friendly match, you'd probably deem that inaccessible. Coming up here though, easily wide enough to get through. Is that a pattern on the... Oh, that's nice. It's a nice effect. It's like a pattern on the flooring in here, so you can make it look a bit more like a mosaic or something if you wanted to. That's a nice touch. I like that. Very nice. It's very good. You can see that obviously they've got flagstones on these bits. It's all quite nice. Lots of pillars, lots of cracking effects. As I've said, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the lines on 3D printing, I only worry about that because I wonder how it's going to come out with the dry brush. Dry brushing and washes, it might pick out all of this. So that's the only reason I'm wary. Last piece, just coming up, is this monster. So this is a very large piece. This is the largest piece we've got in the whole lot. So you've got what is effectively a walkway here, which is a covered walkway. You've got steps leading up to it. You've got an arch there, and you've got a roof. It's pretty cool. And again, am I seeing it right? I believe it is. I'm pretty sure that's an intentional pattern. Yeah, it looks like it's an intentional pattern on the floor there to look a bit like a mosaic, which is nice. Is that right, or is there a piece missing? I honestly don't know. I'm going to have to look at a picture here because I'm wondering if something goes on top of these. I don't know. I'll have to double check. But overall, I'm very impressed with it. It took a little bit longer to come than we expected, but that's because of the lockdown. Fine. We fully expected that. When Jack, who ordered it, got the message that it had been shipped, it was actually here very quickly after that, so it's not like it took long in the post. It was sent first class, signed for, handed over to me at the door, which is very good. Less chance of it getting lost. I like the designs. I'm not particularly sure on the roofing for a lot of it, and I've seen this on some of the other buildings. They've got what look like breeze blocks almost on a roof. I mean, if you're building a roof, why would you use solid blocks of stone, which are likely to be heavier than the actual roof itself? So for me, that just looks a little bit odd. I think it might have looked better with just tiles to the edges. But that's me being pedantic. There's no flash at all. I suppose you don't really get flash with 3D printing, do you? Very nice. So what I'll do is I'll leave this here. I'll probably be doing a video series on painting this terrain. So if anyone likes it, please let me know. As I said, Whitefoot 3D printing, he's not selling this set anymore, but you can still buy the set from RM Studios. I think it's RM Studios or RM Terrain. If you're looking for it, search Stormguard, City in Ruins, I think is what they call it. That's the terrain range. So thanks for watching. Hopefully some people might find this interesting. If you do, please leave a comment. Bye.